Hi, I'm Tara Sprowell. My husband Brian, my daughter Johanna, and my son Weston and I have been attending Peace for about 5 years now. In November of 2001, at the age of 22, I found a lump, and it was breast cancer. I didn't know if I was going to live or die, but I did know that I was going to be okay. God was going to be with me. I went through a lumpectomy, chemo, radiation, but I made it through it. God provided, and He gave me healing. I held my breath for the first 5 years, and then after that 5-year mark, I relaxed a little bit, and after the 10-year mark, I began to dream about things like retirement. A year later, I decided that I would get prophylactic mastectomies. When I was going to see the surgeon before scheduling the surgery, the nurse that I had was also a Christian, and we talked about that in the office. And she was amazed that I had gone 13 years without a recurrence of an aggressive cancer. And she said, "You must have had a lot of people praying for you." And I said, "Yes, I did. And I know that the power of prayer had a lot to do with my healing." She said, "Let's get one last mammogram and MRI just so the doctor will know what's going on." And when I went to get my mammogram and they told me they needed to take a few more pictures, I knew things were going sideways. And yes, I had breast cancer again, this time 2 new tumors. The pathology came back from the tumors. The oncologist handed me the paper and said, "Well, what do you want to do?" My biggest fear was having to have chemotherapy again. It is miserable. I hated it. I blamed whatever I could on chemotherapy because it just was not fun in any way, shape, or form. And here the doctor is asking me to choose. I thought of my children, who were 8 and 6 at the time, and knew I had to do everything to stay here as long as I could. So I chose chemotherapy. So there was a lot of pressure and a lot of stress and going to chemo and trying to keep up with everything. But I was also fighting God. I couldn't understand why He had allowed my greatest fear to become a reality. And I wrestled with that for a long time. Since then, I have continued to put one foot in front of the other and have continued to be weary for 5 or 6 years. A lot of fatigue. I was in a job managing 20 employees. It was a very stressful position and was coming to the end of what I could physically do and keep up with. And I asked God for a way to slow things down, maybe even an early retirement. Shortly after that, I found a lymph node right above my collarbone was enlarged, and I knew very well what that could mean. So I went to my doctor to have it checked out. We had a CT scan done that showed that I had enlarged lymph nodes and a mass in my liver. So I had a PET scan done, which showed that the mass in my liver was cancerous. There was also a spot on my breastbone that was also cancerous. So now, about 5 or 6 years since the last diagnosis, I have stage 4 breast cancer. It has not been easy to think about my death, about leaving my family. God showed me that I have to live like I believe what I say I believe. And if I believe that He loves me, that He wants good for me, that I need to be able to trust Him with my death as much as I trust Him with my life. So as we look to the new year, our family will be focusing on loving each other as best as we can, traveling to see the amazing creation that God has made, and making sure to spend as much quality time together as we can. Life is short. We never know what's around the corner. We never know when our time will be. So we need to take advantage of the time that we have.